Whenever you move into a new area, it always takes time to adjust to certain things. But whenever you move to a new area in an entirely different environment that you've never experienced before, adjusting to the new experiences and surroundings takes a bit longer. I've never lived 20 miles from everyone else. I've never lived around wolves or grizzly bears or other Alaskan wildlife. I've never lived deep in the forest in the midnight darkness until 30 days ago. I realize there's going to be some miserable schmuck who writes a comment like, "Why did you move where grizzly bears are if you're concerned about grizzly bears?" I kind of feel like no matter where you move to, you're going to be concerned about certain things like crime or grizzly bears. Some people have told me I'd rather be killed by an animal in the forest than by a human in the city. I'd rather not be killed by either. These electric mosquito rackets are kind of fun. Although moose injure and kill more people in Alaska than grizzly bears would be my biggest concern living here in the cabin. It's probably from watching too many horror movies as I grew up, but the thought of being trapped inside your cabin with a hungry grizzly bear ripping off the door can be a very uneasy feeling if you think about it too much. The chance of something like that happening is so minimal that it's almost non-existent. But these are still thoughts that go through your head many nights when you turn off the lights to go to sleep. It's going to take more time to overcome those thoughts. I'm more than happy to say that I haven't seen a single bear in my area yet. You know they're all around you, but seeing one is a different story. I did hear that one was crossing the highway 8 miles down the road, and another one was on the front porch of someone's cabin 30 miles away. But as long as those bears were walking in the opposite direction of my cabin, I'm okay with their presence. I haven't even seen any moose out by my cabin this past month. I'm a bit out of the way, and getting back to where the cabin is maybe not very convenient for them, so that may be one reason I'm not seeing them. About 1 week after I arrived to the cabin, I was sitting on the front porch and saw some type of a canine running about 75 yards behind the trees in the middle of the forest. But whatever it was running so fast that it was impossible to tell whether it was a wolf or a coyote. It's rough terrain in the forest, so your typical roaming house dog would not be back here. And they did have 2 wolves walk through this property over Christmas, and 2 weeks before I arrived, there were wolf tracks about a half a mile away from the cabin. But whether what I saw was a wolf or not will never be known. The way I see things is, if you don't recognize what you see, then you really didn't see anything. Now the squirrels are in abundance around the cabin, and they give you the impression that you don't want to mess with them. They're a bit aggressive and show you their displeasure by chirping wildly and running up the closest tree to you to stare down on you while spitting all kinds of squirrel cuss words in your direction. But they're harmless. So far. During the daytime, it's so peaceful and relaxing and quiet. Other than hearing the squirrels argue with each other and the ravens calling out overhead, you don't hear much more of anything. An occasional group of birds will come through, but a lot less birds than I had imagined. I had wondered before I got here how I would feel in the middle of the night living alone in the forest. You know when you walk through the woods with your friends and it always seems to start getting a bit spooky when the forest is overcome by darkness? I was expecting that would happen the first few nights here, but that never happened. I think part of the reason is that when the forest is changing from daylight to nighttime, it seems like it's such a slow process because the forest is never really sunny, so you don't recognize it as much as you thought you would. And it also helps that the parts of the sky that you can see through the trees is always a bit light at this time of the year. Don't get me wrong, it's still dark in the forest even during the summer in Alaska, but not to the extent that it would be elsewhere. I do also enjoy heading to town 20 miles away once per week to pick up some things. It's nice to get out once in a while. I haven't had time yet to go to any of the markets in town or to sightsee very much while getting settled down in the cabin, but I'm looking forward to doing all of that over the next 2 months. And I also have some colleagues from work visiting from Slovenia in August, so I look forward to bringing them to Denali National Park and Talkeetna.